Just like to remind everybody that these are our comments to the decision makers, and this is our opportunity, and we have an opportunity just like everybody else to make comments, right? And yeah, the state law was whatever the state law was, but not every state law has always been, the greatest idea in the whole wide world. Thinking back on a couple, redevelopment being one of the biggest ones that obviously comes to mind as local elected officials. But this is our opportunity, and as we look at that map, and Ms. Scaripa is gone, but San Ysidro is there in white, and you actually have mislabeled San Ysidro as Otay Mesa on your map. The communities that I represent are different, and yeah, the inland and Central Valley legislators want to see reductions for their folks, but we also want to keep the bills for our folks low as well. And it's dynamic and it's different, and to the extent that we can send a message that it's different in San Diego, at least in the city of San Diego, than it is for other folks throughout the state. That's, I think, what I'm trying to achieve, and I think that's the message that we can send. So. That's my turn. The cameras are gone, so I think let's try to drop a lot of the hyperbole and PR language that we tend to use, and let's get down to what the facts are. And because I've heard a lot of comments that it's an inaccurate resolution, and I most definitely don't want to be considered as someone who lies about my statements. So, in order to move with this resolution forward, I want to see what's accurate and what's inaccurate. So why don't we go through this? You have it in front of you. You have the resolution.
I don't know if it's the latest version. The one I had was one I saw earlier that still says SB1X. Has that been corrected to AB1X?
It says SB1X. Yes, you're correct.
Should be AB1X.
All right. Found one inaccuracy. So first paragraph, first whereas, I think we can all agree that's correct, is it not?
Are you asking for our confirmation?
Yes. You're the ones who are saying that there was gross inaccuracies in this resolution, so tell me what's inaccurate.
We're fine. That seems fine.
All right. Let's go on to number 2. You corrected the SB1X to AB1X. Thank you.
That's correct.
Is that correct? All right.
Yep, AB.
Third paragraph.
There are a lot of different numbers. Ours also agree that it's more than 100% difference between the lower tiers and the upper tiers.
Okay. Feel more comfortable if I said more than 100% higher to be more accurate?
You can say our greater than. Sure.
More than 100% higher. Fourth paragraph.
It is accurate that it is a return to the two-tiered structure.
Okay.
The argument being that currently SDG&E, at least, their 4-tiered structure is very close to a 2-tiered structure right now. Tiers 1 and 2 are very close together.
Okay, but
Tiers
the
3
statement in the 4th paragraph is accurate. I heard you say that. 5th paragraph. Is that an accurate statement?
That
Per state law.
Per state law, okay, but that's accurate.
and it's currently at 41%.
Currently, thank you, 41%.
And I would also, I personally, I have an issue with disadvantaging SDG&E's most needy customers.
So who does it, who are your...
I don't think we're going to do a philosophical debate. I'm just telling you, you wanted our input, so I was giving
So
you
who
that.
are those who receive your care program? How would you describe
Low-income
those
customers. A lot of them who are being negatively impacted by the current rate structure.
Okay, so low-income customers is what we'll call them, not needy customers?
And according to the state legislature, the intention was for this to be a 20% discount. So that's why the law is requiring it to come back a little bit. I don't think the intention was for the discount to end up to be 41% for SDG&E's care customers.
And if you want to put in maybe at the very beginning, whereas AB 327 impacts, go ahead and attribute it to that.
Yeah, that's fine. How about the next one?
No, we said 8%.
8%?
On average.
On average. Okay. The pamphlet that you've put out has Tier 1 going up by 15%, and Tier 2, according to your pamphlet, doesn't change. Is that accurate?
Which pamphlet? I'm sorry.
This was, why don't you go hand that to them?
And I guess I'd say, this is where it's indicating as if what SDG&E has proposed. There are a lot of other parties who have made proposals. There's no certainty. As a matter of fact, based on CPUC experience, there's almost more certainty that what any one party has proposed will not get adopted. They will likely take a blend of what all the parties considered and proposed.
Well, let me try to explain. I think what we're trying to do is influence a decision the same way that I think you're trying to influence a decision, and that's what you've been requested to do. As the same way that customers and advocates and everybody else is trying to influence. So I just want to make sure we are putting forward accurate statements because I don't want to be inaccurate about what this actually means.
Yeah, this appears, with just taking a quick look at it, this looks like a bill insert that is related to an earlier phase of the proceeding.
So it's changed. So now you're saying it's an 8% increase for tiers 1 and 2?
I'm just saying this flyer is referring to a different.
Okay, I just want to make sure everybody understands that's your flyer. That's not
of the rulemaking.
Yeah, back
right.
This is something based on a decision that took place
actually, that was
previously.
Okay,
yeah.
So to be accurate, then now it's an 8%.
On average.
Average.
That means what to what?
Means an 8% increase on average.
On average.
On average, which, but it could be up to 15%.
And it could be as low as 6%.
Yeah.
That's why it's on average.
We're going to use an
8%.
average to try to, make sure well, at least that's my proposal to the maker of the motion. Yeah.
Can I ask you if that 8% includes the increased base rate? Or is this purely
baseline or the monthly service fee?
The monthly service fee, yeah.
Takes that into account.
Okay.
Thank you. How about the next paragraph?
Which one do we have?
What's the increase to, the savings or decrease to tiers 3 and 4 on average?
Approximately 30% on average for upper tier customers.
30% average. Okay. The next one, you think you'll probably have a disagreement with. High users of electricity can voluntarily choose to reduce their consumption.
Yeah.
You don't believe that? You believe that every high user, do you believe that every high user of electricity is already reduced?
We think
their
many
using?
high users are in a situation where they simply can't do that.
Okay, so would it be fair to say it's some high users?
No, I think we still have a problem with that.
Many high users cannot reduce their consumption, is what you're saying?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
The word can implies that are capable of, so perhaps replace the word can voluntarily to may voluntarily.
And I think to reflect accuracy, it's some, from what the testimony I just heard, I think. That's what I would suggest. But
So
again,
some may.
Some may, right. Not most, though, according to SDG&E. The next one is that one inaccurate?
It is, because it doesn't reflect what happened to these exact same customers that you're referring to during the previous 13 years. So those customers were negatively impacted, the upper tier customers were negatively impacted by taking on the burden of all rate increases for a number of years, and then the majority of rate increases for the remainder of the years at the benefit of the lower tier customers.
Okay.
So I would not agree with that
I'm
statement.
going to table that one and see where we can get.
How about again, may negatively impact?
I'm going to add that as a note for myself, but table that one for now. What about the next paragraph?
We've discussed that quite
Yeah.
a bit.
Right.
It's not
So you
accurate.
said it's revenue neutral.
Correct.
What is the total revenue?
Change?
No, the total revenue. It's going to be neutral. It's not going to change. What is it? Just curious.
I don't know our total revenue figure.
Okay.
Just know that right now, all of the collection of revenues are collected in the tiers.
Mhm.
If there was a monthly service fee, it would reduce the amount of revenue that was collected in the tiers.
Right.
So there's represents an increase to fixed revenue to SDG&E of about $70 million a year. That is inaccurate. It indicates that we are putting $70 million increased revenue into the coffers. That isn't accurate.
I see. You're trying to say that you're not gaining $70 million more.
That's correct.
Okay, maybe we can clarify that.
Mr. Chair, you do call it fixed revenue.
Right. I thought we went back and forth when we were discussing the language here to make sure that.
So in terms of
represented.
revenue, I mean, it's fixed versus the rates that may change, or the electric bills that may change from month to month based on conservation. This is a fixed revenue source for SDG&E.
Yeah.
Is that misleading?
Okay.
Yeah, the revenue doesn't change, yeah. We've already said
Yeah,
that.
the revenue remains the same. We might need to clarify that, but. What about the next paragraph? The proposed $5 per month increase in residential customer fixed charges reduces financial incentives for.
We don't agree with that either.
You don't agree with that. That would be a matter of. All right, we're almost there. Do you think that this helps, or does this hinder our goals of 100% renewable by 2035? Do you think this is helpful?
We don't particularly tie this effort, nor do I think any of the legislators that approved AB 327 tie this to climate action or climate action plans. But that's a specific goal for you all. We're
Right.
not really in that debate.
Right. All right, and the last one, it's also related to 2035. So there's a couple here that I need to most definitely make some changes that I think were factually incorrect that I'd work on. And I'd ask City Attorney's Office, is it okay to move the recommendation? I don't have the changes that I can present, but how would we move this forward so this could go to council and we would make the changes as before it gets to council?
Well, the motion was to approve the resolution. Is that working? Sorry. So the motion was to approve the resolution with the amendments that you took from the floor, and I think we've fleshed that out. So we would prepare that as we've been directed, and it goes straight to council
Okay. All right.
on a vote.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, and I think that was helpful because it caught a number of things that I think are better. And so I'm glad we went through that process. I took some pretty decent notes here. I'm happy to share them with your committee consultant. I wanted to just maybe on the final two whereases on the first page, so talking about the fixed fee, what I would like to see or what I may suggest given the disputing of what's here, and I don't think it accurately reflects the growth of the fee, so instead to say, whereas the proposed, this would be for the second to last, so whereas the proposed SDG&E rate structure introduces a $5 per month fixed fee on approximately 1.4 million residential accounts, and whereas the new $5 per month fixed fee on residential customer will grow to $10 per month, I think that at least gets the heart of the concern that this is introducing a new fee that is growing over time. I think it's a part of the nature of the concern that Ms. Emerald and I have. And it may remove some of the subjective or perhaps less black and white.
Yeah, may I?
Yeah.
I think what's obvious, and we've tried to explain this before, our world is pretty darn complicated. So, and we've tried to explain some of this, and keep in mind, as Kevin referenced with this general rate case filing, we're allocated what we can recover. Currently, what happens is it all goes into a melting pot, and customers really aren't sure what they're paying for. from a commodity perspective, distribution, transmission, public purpose programs, other things. Part of what we're doing with this effort is to bring around greater transparency. The fixed fee that we keep alluding to is pulled from rates. So all 4 of the tiers, the rates drop because that is being pulled from that large bucket of revenue that we're allowed to recover. So that's why we keep going back to this point that it's revenue neutral. We're told by the PUC you can recover this amount in a bucket. So if we're proposing a new line item on the bill, which is this fixed charge, it comes out of that bucket. So rates decrease for all customers, tiers 1, 2, 3, and 4 currently, or what we've proposed, tiers 1 and 2. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. And I know maybe it's not, but...
No, I understand exactly what you're saying, but the problem with it is that tiers 1 and 2 actually do go up. I mean, that the people who are currently in tiers 1 and 2 who will now be in tier 1, what
they are currently paying, it will go up from that, correct, and still be under what it costs the utility to serve them. There is still a premium for the higher energy users, and so in other words, there is still a signal for them to conserve energy. I would also argue, I mean, when we've had this discussion, we can make the argument that if you're a tier 1, 2 customer currently with a $30 a month bill, I don't know what the motivation is to conserve energy. So it's a broader discussion, and we're trying to address all those issues, as is the Commission. Mm-hmm. And so that's where we are right now with our proposal, at least.
I just want to offer those, and if that's acceptable to Ms. Emerald. I understand the subjectivity in here, and as you say, I mean, I would argue that we're all in a very complex world. I look at my bill, I just look at what I have to pay, and I move on. Because it is complex to read. So I might argue that point. But at the end of the day, what we are concerned about is the trend lines that are shown in this presentation, which are a reduction in the care discount, an introduction in a new fee, and an increase in the tiers, generally speaking, to the constituents that I represent. So as for, I would assume, I believe they would have concerns, and they'd want the council to go on record on this. So I have these written out. I'm happy to provide them.
Yeah, we're going to need the notes. I'd like to I'm sorry, were you finished? Just like to remind everybody that these are our comments to the decision makers, and this is our opportunity, and we have an opportunity, just like everybody else, to make comments, right? And yeah, the state law was whatever the state law was, but not every state law has always been, the greatest idea in the whole wide world. Thinking back on a couple. Redevelopment being one of the biggest ones that obviously comes to mind as local elected officials, but this is our opportunity, and as we look at that map, and Ms. Scaripa is gone, but San Ysidro is there in white, and you actually have mislabeled San Ysidro as Otay Mesa on your map. The communities that I represent are different, and yeah, the inland and Central Valley legislators want to see reductions for their folks, but we also want to keep the bills for our folks low as well. And it's dynamic and it's different, and to the extent that we can send a message that it's different in San Diego, at least in the city of San Diego, than it is for other folks throughout the state. That's, I think, what I'm trying to achieve, and I think that's the message that we can send. So with that, this
real quick,
will be...
did the city council, in this, when the bill was being considered, submit a resolution or consider a resolution to oppose AB 327?
I don't know. You have to ask who was the mayor at the time. Is that you? No, that was before you.
At what point?
It was 2013, 2014 session.
2013 would have been former Mayor Filner.
We didn't have lobbyists at the time.
Oh, that's right. We did not have a lobbyist. This is going to go to council. If I'm willing to, if there are other nuances that we can put in here to send the message that we want to send to San Diego, I'd be happy to hear what they are. But this is going to be a decision that the Public Utilities Commission makes really soon. One other factual statement, actually, that I'm very, very curious about. Some of the folks, somebody, I don't remember who it was, said that 20% of the seniors pay the high tiers. Is that tiers 3 and 4? Do you?
I don't have that percentage.
Okay.
certainly a percentage of our seniors are in that area. And just to follow up with your comment, I think it's important to note that, you are concerned, as you should be, with those customers that are in the lower tiers. They're going to see an increase. Does it make sense that we should unfairly overcharge the customers, which are constituents of all of yours as well, in order to subsidize those customers? And that's exactly what's been happening for the last 13 years. So Tiers 1 and 2 customers don't realize that they haven't exactly paid what it costs to serve them, and that's what the state has embraced. They basically have figured that out and said, you know what, we do have to fix that. And I'm sorry to bring up the energy crisis, but that's the law that AB 327 reversed. So it does go back to that. There wasn't probably such an issue for the first few years. The last few years, now you see on that chart such a disparity. That's what they're trying to correct.
Well, and once again, this is our opportunity to weigh in on this, and I think it would be fools not to at this point, given that there's going to be major implications for all of our residents. So
one last thing.
Yeah,
absolutely. I would maybe perhaps suggest then, as you're looking at this, some of the whereases, as what I read this, it's all whereas we don't like anything SDG&E has proposed. You might want to consider as a city are some whereases as to what you want to see in our rate structure. Just a thought.
Okay. Sounds fair. And we'll have this at council for a full council vote. So we have a motion with a lot of work to be done before this gets to council to make sure we capture all of the comments. Mr. Gloria made the motion. Ms. Emerald made the second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. Motion carries 3-1.